Hello, friend. Welcome to Mulenge Speaks project number 4. Today we'll be talking about the migration of Banyarwanda in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. But before we start, I would like to point out two elements. Two very important points. One is that we all have to know, and this is a call to all our children, whether you are Muvira, Mufuliro, Mubembe, Mushi, Murega, Munyindu, or Munyarwanda. It is important that you know that the concept of Mulenge is very, very critical in today. Very critical because the people are dying. People lives are involved. And so we have to pay attention. We really need to learn. It's also a call that I'm addressing to you, my viewer, whether you are a member of the international community or you are a member of the conflict resolution around the world, whether you are a congressman or congresswoman, whether you have been approached by people who identify themselves as people from Mulenge. It is very important that you consider what we are doing here. This is not a joke. People are dying, people are losing their lives because of this subject. So before we tackle the idea or the time when the Banyarwanda entered or crossed into the Eastern Congo, we have to consider that fact. It is a fact, and people have to learn it. People have to consider it very seriously. So we all, including you, my viewer, you need to take time and consider this. This is not a joke. And secondly, we have to consider that I have established 4 facts in my previous clip. First, I said that the treaties that H.M. Stanley signed with the tribal leaders on behalf of King Leopold, or King II of the Belgium. He signed those treaties with local leaders in the region that he visited between 1877 and 1884. And during this time, the Kingdom of Rwanda was not united then. And H.M. Stanley never set his foot in the Kingdom of Rwanda. He never crossed Lake Kivu, he never crossed Lake Ruzizi to enter into the Kingdom of Rwanda. Of course, he got to Uganda, but he never crossed into the Kingdom of Rwanda. So that's the first fact that we established. The region that Stanley visited in 1877 to 1884 does not include the region at the east of Lake Kivu and Lake Ruzizi, and does not include none of the kings of the Banyarwanda during that time. Second fact that we have established, the Kingdom of Rwanda that King Kigeri IV Rwabugiri inherited from King Rugera in 1860 was not yet united. And when he died, when King Rwabugiri died in 1896, his kingdom was not yet united completely. Because by the time the German entered into his kingdom in 1892 and 1894, the kingdom was not yet united. For that reason, you can read the story or the history of the 2 Germans who came to Rwanda the first time, Oskar Baumann and Gustav Adolf von Gotzen, one in 1892 and the other one in 1894. These were the two first German to enter into the Kingdom of Rwanda under Rwabugiri. And this territory was not part of the region that Stanley visited. And for that I can read you a quotation from one of my researchers here. It says, it is estimated, I'm quoting here, it is estimated that in 1700 the Kingdom of Rwanda was only made up about 14% of contemporary Rwanda, and that the following 150 years was a period of great expansion of its borders. Mwami Kigeri IV Rwabugiri, who ruled from 1860 to 1895, was the final architect of Rwanda unification and expanded the kingdom. So this is the king who expanded the kingdom, and he was the architect of Rwanda unification. And during this time, 1860 to 1895, the kingdom on the other side of the Kivu lake and the Ruzizi river, the kingdom of Bavira, the kingdom of Babembe, the kingdom of Balega, and the kingdom of Bashi or the Banyabungo, and the kingdom of Bafulero were already established. The king were already reigning. They had structures, political structures, economic and cultural and social structures. They had military structures in place already. Fact number 3 that we established. By the time the Berlin Conference in 1885 took place, or by the time this conference was convened in 1885, the kingdom of Bavira were already established. The kingdom of Bashi, Bafuliru, Barega, Banyindu were already established. But the kingdom of Rwanda was not, because at that time there were wars that were taking place. King Rwabugiri was fighting to unite his kingdom. The Belgium at that time, when in the 1900s, the Belgium ruled the Belgium Congo through direct rule, while the German ruled the German Western Africa, East Africa as they used to call it, and which included the Tanzania Republic, United Republic of Tanzania, and the Rwanda Burundi. They were ruling this part of their colony through indirect rule. Fourthly, we also established that there is no such clan or tribe as Hutu or Tutsi. Both are just status, and they were part of one and only one identity, the Banyarwanda. And for that reason, if we read the Constitution of Rwanda at Article 25th of 2003, I quote, "No one can be deprived of Rwanda nationalities of origin. All persons of Rwanda origin and their descendants are, upon request, entitled to Rwanda nationality." In other words, Rwanda recognizes dual nationality, but the RDC does not. So if these 4 facts that we establish are true, we must then consider the condition that triggered the migration of the Banyarwanda, or let's say the Tutsi, because they claim that they are from Rwanda, but they are not Banyarwanda. We know the fact that this is nonsense and deception, because you can't be Tutsi from Rwanda but not being a Munyarwanda. It does not make sense. It can't be. You can't be Hutu from Rwanda and not Munyarwanda. Remember, I established early in the clip number 3 that the Hutu, the Tutsi, and the Twa, they were all belong to one tribe, which is still remain today, the tribe of Banyarwanda. So now the Tutsi that live in Eastern Congo, they claim that they came from one, but they are not Banyarwanda. But we are showing here that the Banyarwanda that existed before 1860 were concentrated in the kingdom of Central Rwanda, which was around the region of Kigali today. But around them, there were other kingdoms, central entities, and states that were independent and autonomous from the kingdom of Rwanda. And it is during the Gahindiro reign and Rwogera reign and Rwabugiri reign, that's when they start conquering and attacking other the neighboring kingdom and annexing them to what the German found as the kingdom of Rwanda. So if these facts, they are true, we have to ask the question. Let's assume that they crossed the river, they crossed the lake Kivu and the river Ruzizi, but they must have some triggers. What did trigger them to move, to leave their kingdom, to move, if they did, to other part of the region? Because we have shown that it is impossible. It is not true. If they tell you that it is true that they moved or they crossed into the Democratic Republic before the 1700s, but we have demonstrated that the kingdom of Rwanda was not united before 1850, and that it is impossible that they could have crossed before the conference, the German or the Berlin conference. But it is possible also that few people may have migrated or crossed the river. That will show in part 5. But for now, let us consider and see what are the conditions that triggered the Banyarwanda to start moving or running away from their land. For example, number 1, after the death of Rwabugiri's successor, which was his son Mibambwe IV Rutalindwa in 1896, an uprising of farmers against King Musinga, Yuhi IV, in the northern part of the country was suppressed by the German and King Musinga. Number 2, in 1907, Muhumusa, one of the wives of the late King Rwabugiri, rebelled against the German and proclaimed herself Queen of Ndorwa. That made the German very mad. 3 years later, they captured her and they killed her. But at the same time, her son, Ndungutse, continued the rebellion. 3, the construction of Hutu and Tutsi as races by the Belgian and the German, and the issuance of ID card where they could mention if you were Hutu or you were Tutsi. These elements are part of the triggers that start pushing people to run away, to cross on the other side of the Lake Kivu and the River Ruzizi. We have also to remember that the farmers and the herders, cattle herders and the farmers were all either Hutu or Tutsi, because at that time it was just a status. Who were Hutu, there were some Hutu who had cattle, and there were some Tutsi who were just farmers. But at that time, it's only later that people started identifying themselves as Tutsi and Hutu. Number 4, the taking power from the Mwami and the aristocracy and giving it to small chiefs. That also triggered people to move or to leave their origin villages. Number 5, the division between farmers and herders following the practice of naming chief of land and chief of grass. Number 6, there was a coup at Runchuchu in December 1896, during which King Rwabugiri IV, Yuhi IV died. There was a coup, so people died, and many fled the country, and many traveled or crossed into what we know today as the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Number 8, revolt by farmers over too much oppression around and after 1885 by King Rwabugiri Yuhi IV. Number 8, in the northwest, the Ndorwan, the people of the kingdom of Ndorwa, joined the cult of Nyambija, who was the last daughter of the last king of Ndorwa, against the Nyiginya conquest. Number 9, in Gisaka, that's in the east, the farmers and herders rebelled against the Nyiginya clan, which was ruling the kingdom of Rwanda at that time. Number 10, the revolt of Bwanamukari in 1897 to 1899. The revolt of Bwanamukari in 1890, 1897, and 1999. Number 11, the revolt of Nyirashirembere between 1892 and 1895 in the south of Kingdom of Rwanda. The revolt of by people who were ruled by a herding dynasty. Remember that there were some kings or states around the Kingdom of Rwanda that were ruled by herders, cattle herders dynasty. And so when they were conquered or occupied by the Nyiginya clan, they start running away. In 1897, anti-Nyiginya policy revolt led by former kings of Bugoi, Kingdom of Bugoi, Kingdom of Buberuka, Murera, Buhoma, Bushiri, Bugarura. All these revolt by this former king. When a king ran away, he takes all his council. He takes many people with him. We still remember the story of King Musinga of Rwanda when he was relegated in Moba in Shaba, or the province of Katanga. He did not run by himself. He ran with all his subjects. And we had some of those Tutsi calling themselves the Banyavura. But King Musinga did not come by himself. So he came with the subject. And so is the history of Africa. So those kings who were running away because the Nyiginya was taking up their countries, their states, or their kingdom, they were running away with subjects. We also had some famines in Rwanda. Later in the late 30s and 40s, during the Belgium Congo, we had what we call the La Mission d'immigration de Banyarwanda. The Belgium were exporting or importing people from Rwanda to come and work in the Kivu region, and even send them also in the mining in Lubumbashi in the province of Katanga. And so we had also the revolution of 1959, we had the famine, we have the independent immigrant who also crossed into the eastern part of the Democratic of Republic of Congo. So these are the triggers that they can help us to understand when the Banyarwanda start crossing into the Democratic Republic of Congo, where did they go to settle? When did they start to settle, and how did they settle? Did they find grazing land empty, or were they given permission by the local leaders or kings to settle? At what conditions? Those will be the subject of the next clip, which you will see next time, clip number 5. So for here today, I will stop here, and I urge you again to read the book and try to understand the reason why the Banyarwanda crossed the river and the lake to come into what we know today as the Republic of Democratic Congo, former Belgium Congo, and former Congo Free State, or later independent Congo. So, but remember that this is a subject that's very critical, very sensitive. People are dying. So we don't want to repeat the same mistake. We want to teach our children, we want to teach you, my viewers, the international community, who are receiving our brothers and sisters, and they're telling you lies. We have to learn, we have to analyze the data, we have to analyze the information we are receiving, and read some articles, some information, some books, so we can discover where is the truth and how we can help resolve the conflict that is going on right now in eastern part of the Congo or in the Great Lake of Africa. So thank you again for watching, and we hope that I'll see you next time with clip number 5, so we can explain when the Banyarwanda now settled or arrived in eastern part of Democratic Congo, how did they settle, who received them, and where we are today with the conflict. So thank you again, and hope to see you next time. Thank you.